In other news today, protests outside Walmart and Safeway continued as unions engage in a heated debate with the Supreme Court on whether or not to raise minimum wage. Unions argue that minimum wage was never meant to be a primary living income and is not high enough for workers to support their families. Small businesses, on the other hand, argue that they cannot support workers if minimum wage is raised again, and they will have to lay off more workers, causing a raise in unemployment. Our reporter in the field, Sam Edwins, is currently stationed outside one of these protests and is asking some very crucial questions to the workers.
Thank you, Dan. And now I'm standing here outside the scene of the protest at Walmart. I'm standing here with a man, Sebastian, who currently works at Walmart and earns minimum wage. Tell me, sir, is the current minimum wage enough to live off of?
No, it's not. Not really. I have 3 jobs and my wife too, and we have 3 sons, and it's very hard to give them good life.
I'm sorry. Does it at least allow you any luxuries?
No, it doesn't. We are sharing our apartment with 3 other families, and so there's not really enough space to live and no money.
Do they at least get a good education?
Excuse me?
Do they at least get a good education from the government?
Yeah. The government pays them the school and stuff, but I think it's very hard for us, for my wife and me, it's very hard to buy them school things like binders, pencils, and so they have a really cheap equipment.
I'm sorry. Do you feel it is really necessary, the minimum wage increase, even though you know that it'll cause many small businesses to go bankrupt and have to lay off employees?
Yeah, I know, but my family is, for me, my family is much more important than liquor stores, you know?
Of course. I feel like in your position I would feel the same. Now, I'm going to move on to another employee who's been protesting the exact same thing because he was laid off a couple of years ago because of the minimum wage. Whereas Mr. Sebastian, is arguing that the minimum wage increase must happen. The other employee is arguing for the sake of the current employees that they should not increase the minimum wage. And here's the man. Sir, could you come over here, please? Why do you think you were fired? Because of your own negligence or because of the minimum wage increase?
I think that my employer could no longer afford to pay for my wages or my pay because it was just too high for him, or because he did not want to, let's say, waste that much money on my job.
Oh. Do you regret protesting for the minimum wage increase in hindsight?
Well, now I do know that it does not make any sense to increase the minimum wage because they would just fire the people that they cannot afford to pay for. So, yes, I do regret protesting.
But in a larger scale, do you still believe that it was necessary and that a lot of people benefited from it and that the benefit was greater than the loss in this case?
Well, I think for big companies, it was, for employees at big companies, it was a benefit of increasing the minimum wage because those people actually don't get fired because the company can't afford to pay for their wages. But for small companies or people that are employed illegally, or then were employed legally and are afterwards employed illegally for the old minimum wage or lower wages, so it's equalized in some way.
Well, thank you for sharing. All right, now back to the studio, where Dan will wrap up today's session.
Thank you, Sam. Seems like a very heated debate going on down there. On one side, people are arguing that minimum wage has to be increased in order for people to live off of it. On the other hand, other people are worried that they'll lose their job because of the increase. Now to the weather.